Are you sick and tired of slicing your ball into the woods? Always receiving bad golf advice from your friends? For years, I was in the same boat as you are now. They were always telling me keep my head down or slow down, and I just wasn't getting any better. Then one day, I realized all the golf advice they were telling me was just one misconception after another. And now, for the first time ever, I present to you the 7 golf myths that are destroying your game. Hey, good afternoon. Today we're going to have a lot of fun talking about 7 golf myths that are destroying your game. And you've probably heard all of them at some point or another, but some of the most common ones that you hear every day, your playing partners will tell you this. What happens when you top the ball and it hits down the fairway, but it never gets in the air, it just kills a few worms? They're probably going to tell you that you looked up. So we're going to talk about that as a golf myth. That's actually not true. You're not looking up before or at impact. I've filmed over 3,000 golfers to verify that this is fact, and I've only met 4 that actually do look up before or at impact, and they are all on the tour. So obviously looking up before or at impact isn't related to playing good golf or related to playing bad golf. So let's talk about why that's actually a myth. The first thing to understand is that the golf swing happens at a very high rate of speed. So you may swing at 70, 80, 90, some of you swing maybe even over 100 miles per hour. And at that speed, your playing partners aren't actually able to distinguish what's going on at the moment of impact. So they may perceive that you looked up because by the time they recognize it was actually a poor shot, by the time they recognize that the ball is on the ground and rolling, that's already a full half a second after you've made impact with the ball. And a full half a second after impact with the ball, you certainly should be looking up at that point, and they would perceive, however, that you looked up before impact or even at impact. Another very common golf myth that your friends will tell you is they'll tell you to keep your eye on the ball. So I'm going to explain to you why that's a myth and why it's destroying your golf game. First of all, keeping your eye on the ball, that's keeping your eye on the ball. So we know we can't hit it that way. Or in all reality, all kidding aside, keeping your eye on the ball, what it will do to you is it'll actually cause you to have a reverse pivot, which will cause you to lose some distance and it'll cause you to lose some power. So you want to make sure that you don't try and keep your eye on the ball. The fact is, if you look at it frame by frame, good players don't keep their eye right on the ball. Their eyes are actually directed 12 to 18 inches behind the ball when they get to the top of their swing. So another popular golf myth or advice that you get from your friends that is not correct and is destroying your game is swing slow. So after you've hit a bad shot, oftentimes they say, slow down, you are going too fast. Well, I've yet to meet anybody that swings too fast. It's not possible. You cannot swing the golf club too fast. You can, however, swing it out of sequence. So if you follow this golf myth and you just start to slow down because your friends told you to slow down, your swing will get so slow, it'll be like watching Caddyshack, and then your friends would say, "Whee! Nice shot, Mrs. Haverkamp," because you hit it so short. You're losing all kinds of distance and you actually slow your swing down. So that was a good example of a slow swing. So if your friends tell you to slow down, that was a good example of a slow swing. It went nice and straight and about 100 yards off the tee. So if you're playing a par 3 course, that's just fantastic. That's about all you need. But if you're playing any type of real golf course over 6,000 yards, you really need to swing fast in order to be able to get the ball to go far enough. Now, where people misinterpret swinging slow or slowing down, this isn't all myth. There is some partial truth to that, but nobody really understands it. It's actually called tempo. And tempo is the actual amount of time that it takes your swing to go from the takeaway to impact, and also the ratio of your backswing to downswing. Myth number 4, you're going to love this one. Everybody's always told you you're supposed to transfer your weight in the golf swing. So what really happens in the golf swing is that you need to transfer your weight, but you need to transfer it properly, and you need to know when to transfer it and how to pivot correctly. Most people interpret transferring their weight as transferring their weight in the backswing, which puts all their weight to the outside of their foot, so their back foot specifically. So if they're right-handed, the weight goes to the outside of the right foot, and then it's very difficult for them to get back to their left foot. If they're left-handed, then it's the opposite. Their weight goes to the outside of their left foot. So a correct pivot actually occurs when the upper body appears as though it moves slightly behind the ball, but the lower body does not shift weight to the outside of the back foot. So you want to keep the weight on the inside of the back foot or your trail leg, your right leg if you're right-handed, or your left leg if you're left-handed. And that allows you to transfer your weight forward in the downswing. So understand that transferring your weight is a myth if you interpret it as a backswing weight transfer. You need to keep the weight centered as you go back so you can drive forward in the downswing. So myth number 5 is that you need to swing outside to in and take a big hard swing in the bunker. So when you're in the sand, that's actually a myth, and that's a high-risk shot that maybe you would see a tour player do occasionally when they're doing a specialty bunker shot, but even for their standard bunker shots, they don't actually swing outside to in. Okay, so video proves that they're actually more on plane than most people think. So to hit a standard bunker shot, you really don't need to open up the club face and swing out to in. You really should just swing it more like your normal pitch shot, where you keep the club on plane and you don't do anything too fancy. So you could see on that good example that the club face was only moderately open, a couple degrees. It wasn't wide open. You could see that the stance was not wide open, and everything was reasonably close to square, and there wasn't anything that was real fancy about the shot. It was not outside to in, it was on plane. And you could see in the bad example, the club face was more open, which is what all the magazines tell you to do, and all your friends tell you to do. You could see on the bad example that the swing was way outside to in and across the ball, which is what your friends tell you to do at a hit out of a bunker shot. And that's actually a myth. It's a very high-risk shot, and you don't want to do that. Now this is another really common piece of golf advice that people will give you. They'll tell you that you need to get under the ball, and you'll hear players when they miss a shot, they say, well, I didn't get under it, that's why I topped it. Well, it's actually a myth. You don't need to get under the golf ball. In fact, when you try and get under the golf ball, it causes you to actually get on top of it. The reason why is when you try and get under it, it will reverse your weight shift, so you have that reverse weight pivot. It will also cause your hands to be in bad position at impact. You'll end up cupping your left wrist in an effort to try and get under the ball. That's your left wrist if you're a right-handed player, or your right wrist if you're a left-handed player. So you don't actually want to get under the ball, you want to go alongside of the ball. So now we'll show some examples of going alongside of the ball. Keep in mind that the lead edge of the club head will be striking the ball. It'll be descending as it contacts the ball, and that lead edge of the club head will be towards the bottom portion of the golf ball, but at no time will your club head actually be under the golf ball. And now we're finally at the end. This is very exciting, the 7th golf myth that is destroying your game. And this myth actually has to do with tee shots. And people tell you for tee shots, you need to play the ball off your front foot. So for right-handed players, that'd be your left foot. And for left-handed players, that would be your right foot. But here's what happens. When you actually put that ball off your left foot, it'll throw off your shoulder alignment, and it will encourage a swing path that comes what's called outside to in or across the ball, and it will increase the odds that you will hit a pull or a slice. So if you find that you're pulling or slicing, oftentimes it's because the ball is positioned off your front foot. So that is a myth number 7. You've probably all seen the ESPN highlight flop shot, and you get in a situation on the course where you have very little green to work with, the flag is close to you, and you have to pull that shot off. And what happens? Of course, you blade it across the green into the bunker, because you don't have the time to put into this shot. So I'm going to show you a low-risk way to hit that shot without the risk of hitting it over the bunker. So a couple things I want you to keep in mind to take the risk out of this shot are, one, we want to go with a very weak or slice grip position. So you'll notice that I'm taking my grip with my left hand, and the grip is in the palm, it's not in the fingers. And then the right hand comes way over. That would be opposite for left-handers, but that's a very weak grip position. That allows the club face to set quite a bit open through impact at setup and maintain through impact. And now I'm going to demonstrate the shot. So that grip position allows you to hit a high soft shot without using your hands too much. That's where the risk comes into play. So that's a low risk way of hitting a high soft shot.